The sky above the old battlefield was dark with smoke and clouds. The earth shook as heavy alien ships floated in the air, their massive engines roaring like thunder. The world beneath trembled under their shadow. Every tree bent under the pressure. Every broken house cracked further as the weight of war pressed upon the land, and the silence before the clash was thick, almost like the air was holding its breath, waiting for blood to fall. Human soldiers stood in a long line across the ruins, their boots covered in dust, their faces hidden behind helmets scratched and burned from earlier fights, their bodies tired yet their eyes sharp and focused. In their hands were rifles, small compared to the giant weapons of the invaders, simple in shape, with thin barrels and no glowing lights, no strange energy coils, nothing that looked powerful, only metal, scratched and plain, like tools built in a forgotten age. Across the field stood the alien army, tall creatures wrapped in black armor that shined with a sick green glow. Their weapons pulsed with bright blue fire, each one humming with power like a living beast ready to bite, their helmets shaped like cruel masks, their glowing eyes staring at the human line with arrogance and disdain. The sound of alien laughter broke the silence, sharp and cruel, echoing over the ruined field like a storm of mockery. The alien general walked forward, his armor heavier and larger than the rest, a giant compared to the humans, his shoulders wide like stone walls, his voice loud like thunder as he spoke in his alien tongue. But the translator machine carried his words into human ears. "This is your army. These small creatures with weak tools, these sticks you call weapons. Do you truly believe you can fight us with such toys?" The aliens laughed again. Rows of warriors clutching their weapons as if the sound itself was a blade meant to cut human pride. One alien soldier stepped forward, his voice dripping with contempt. "Look at them. They bring sticks to fight fire. They bring toys to fight gods." His words were followed by more cruel laughter. The sound carried far, bouncing against the broken walls and shattered stones. It was a storm of ridicule, a chorus of arrogance, the kind of laughter that could break weak hearts and crush hope before a battle even began. Yet the human line did not move. No soldier lifted his head in anger. No one broke formation. The commander stood at the front, silent, his hand resting on his weapon, his eyes steady like stone, his face calm, as if he had heard such laughter 1,000 times before. His soldiers waited, their breaths heavy, their hearts beating like drums in their chest. But their hands did not shake, their will did not bend. They were silent, but not broken, still as mountains before the storm. The alien general raised his massive weapon, a staff glowing with burning light. Flames danced across its surface. His voice roared. "We will crush you in moments. You will fall in seconds. Your world will burn and your kind will vanish. Your tiny weapons will be remembered only as jokes in our halls." His army cheered, a roar of confidence and pride. The ground trembled with their voices. They believed victory was already theirs. They believed they had already won before a single shot had been fired. But the human commander lifted his hand slowly. His soldiers raised their weapons in perfect unity. The line of rifles aimed forward, steady, cold, ready. The commander's voice cut through the noise, clear and sharp. Only one word left his lips: fire. The rifles cracked. The sound was nothing like the thunder of alien cannons. It was sharp and simple, like wood breaking, like fireworks bursting in the distance. To alien ears it was weak, almost laughable, a sound of failure, a sound of old weapons long forgotten. But the laughter died when the first alien soldier staggered back, his armor split like glass under the force of the shot. He fell to the ground with a roar of shock, his glowing weapon slipping from his hand, sparks flying as it struck the dirt. Another shot tore through another alien's chest, the black armor cracking apart, glowing blood spilling into the dust. The warrior fell silent forever. The alien stopped laughing for a breath, confusion flashing in their eyes. They could not believe it. The tiny rifles had drawn blood. They had killed armored warriors, something the aliens believed impossible. The human soldiers fired again, another volley, another line of shots like iron rain, each bullet cutting through alien ranks, each shot striking true. More bodies hit the ground, the green glow of alien armor dimming as life left their frames, panic spread across the alien front. Their laughter turned into shouts of alarm, their confidence shaken in an instant. The alien general roared, fury twisting his voice. "Impossible! They cannot harm us. Our armor is unbreakable. Their weapons are toys. Toys cannot kill gods." But even as he shouted, another soldier beside him fell, his head shattered by a single bullet. The field was painted with proof, and no words could erase the truth the aliens now saw with their own eyes. Still, the humans did not cheer. They did not shout in victory. They simply reloaded, fired again, their faces calm, their movements precise, as if they had practiced this moment 1,000 times, as if they had always known this would happen, as if they had always been ready. Their silence was more terrifying than the sound of alien roars, for silence meant confidence. Silence meant strength. The alien warriors who had mocked now felt a weight pressing on their chests. Not from the air, not from their armor, but from fear, pure and cold, fear of the unknown, fear of the humans who stood before them with small weapons that were not small at all, weapons that were breaking gods. The battlefield was no longer filled with laughter, no longer filled with arrogance. Now it echoed with the sound of rifles cracking, bullets flying, bodies falling. And in that sound was a message, a truth the aliens could no longer deny. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not helpless. Humanity was dangerous. And the war had only just begun. The echo of gunfire rolled across the ruined plain, sharp and heavy. It was not the sound of power that the aliens knew, not the roar of plasma weapons or the crack of lightning cannons. It was something old, something raw, something the invaders had thought long forgotten. And yet that sound carried death in every single echo. It carried truth in every single shot. The alien soldiers had stood laughing only moments before, their shoulders shaking under the weight of pride, their voices cruel and mocking. But now that laughter was broken, shattered by the scream of their own warriors falling into the dust. The ground was already painted with glowing blood, green and burning, spilling from cracked armor that was supposed to be unbreakable. Their pride was now lying in pieces beside them. One alien lifted his weapon, rage twisting his glowing eyes. He aimed at a human soldier and fired. The blue beam of energy cut through the smoke, burning a line of fire across the field. The ground hissed and melted where the shot struck, but the human was already gone, moving behind cover, moving with speed and discipline that surprised the invaders. Before the alien could fire again, a bullet cracked through his chest. His scream ended in silence as his weapon fell into the dirt. Another alien shouted, "They are not supposed to pierce our shields. They cannot be this strong." But his voice ended when a second bullet split his helmet apart. The translator device on his chest sparked with static as he fell, his last words unfinished, his disbelief frozen on his face, and the human rifle spoke again, louder and louder, each shot like a hammer against alien arrogance. The general roared orders, his voice carrying like thunder, demanding his soldiers advance, demanding they crush the humans with sheer power. But every step forward was met with another volley. Every stride ended with another alien dropping into the dust, their glowing blood staining the earth in rivers, their mighty formation breaking apart, hesitation spreading like fire through their ranks. The humans did not rush, they did not charge, they held their line, their rifles steady, their movements calm, their breaths deep and controlled. Each man and woman knew their role. Each one trusted the other, and together they created a storm of iron. A storm the aliens had never seen before, a storm they did not understand, a storm they could not stop. The alien laughter had died completely now. There was no joy in their voices, no mockery left in their hearts, only fear and confusion. The kind of fear that spreads when the impossible becomes real, the kind of confusion that burns when the mighty are broken by the weak. Their eyes darted between the falling bodies of their brothers. Their voices cracked with disbelief, and every breath they took tasted of smoke and death. One alien commander lifted his weapon high, shouting in fury, "They are nothing. They are fragile. Do not fear them." But before his roar could bring courage, a single rifle spoke, and his words were cut short forever. His body dropped heavy into the dirt. His soldiers froze, their courage dying with him, their pride bleeding out beside his corpse. The human commander still stood at the front, his voice calm, his hand rising and falling like a signal. Every motion measured, every order sharp, his soldiers followed with perfect unity, firing when he signaled, reloading without panic, stepping forward like shadows in the smoke. They were not gods. They were not monsters. They were humans, and yet in that moment they seemed greater than both. The alien general clenched his massive weapon, the glow around it burning brighter with his rage. His voice cracked with fury. "This is trickery. This is impossible. Their weapons are weak. Their weapons are toys." But his words sounded thin now. They sounded empty, for the proof of his failure lay in the blood around his boots. His army was breaking, and he could not hold the truth away with words alone. The humans fired again, another line of shots cutting through the smoke, each bullet striking with deadly accuracy. Each alien who fell carried with him a piece of the army's pride. And soon that pride was almost gone, replaced with fear, replaced with silence, replaced with the sound of human rifles speaking louder than any alien voice. Some aliens tried to regroup, their formation tightening, their shields rising, their weapons glowing with fury, but every shield cracked, every barrier failed, the bullets tore through as if the defenses were made of paper. The invaders stumbled back, their advance halted, their confidence shattered, and the humans pressed forward slowly, not with rushing feet, but with steady steps, with patience, with cold certainty. The battlefield was filled with smoke and fire now, the sky painted with the light of weapons, the earth torn apart with every shot. Yet through that chaos, one truth was clear: humanity was not weak. Humanity was not helpless. Humanity was strong in ways the aliens had never considered, and the so-called toys in their hand were tools of death that even gods would fear. An alien soldier dropped to his knees, his voice trembling. "What are they? How can they do this?" But no answer came. Only another shot. Only silence as his body fell. And the question remained hanging in the air, heavy and terrifying, a question that none of the invaders dared answer aloud, because the answer might be too terrible to bear. The human line kept moving, step by step, smoke wrapping around them like a cloak, the sound of rifles like drums of war, the sight of fallen enemies marking their path. Their hearts did not waver, their eyes did not look away. They had been mocked, they had been called weak, but now they were the storm, now they were the fear, now they were the truth the aliens had never wanted to face. And as the echoes of the last volley rolled across the field, the laughter that once filled the air was gone forever. In its place was silence, broken only by the steady sound of human rifles loading again, a sound that promised the fight was not over, a sound that warned the aliens that this was only the beginning, and the war was far from finished. The battlefield was now filled with smoke and the bitter smell of blood. The ground trembled under the weight of fallen bodies. Alien weapons glowed weakly in the dirt, their energy fading as their owners lay silent. The air carried the sound of rifles cracking again and again, a storm of iron and fire that refused to end, and for the first time in their long reign the invaders felt the taste of doubt. The alien general stood tall, yet his eyes flickered with disbelief, his armor heavy and glowing, but his voice unsteady. He shouted for his soldiers to regroup. He demanded they form lines. He called them to crush the humans. Yet his words carried no power now, for his soldiers were no longer certain, their steps slow, their hands trembling, their laughter gone, their pride shattered like broken glass. Alien warriors who once looked at humans as insects now looked at them with fear. They whispered among themselves in voices full of disbelief. How could simple rifles break their shields? How could primitive bullets pierce armor forged from stars? How could a species they thought weak stand so strong in the storm of war? And each whisper carried further, spreading like disease, filling the hearts of the army with dread. A squad of aliens raised their cannons together, their weapons humming with bright blue fire. They fired into the smoke, beams of energy tearing the earth apart, flames rising high, the ground breaking into molten rivers. The humans seemed swallowed by fire, and for a brief moment the aliens felt a spark of hope, but that hope died when the rifles cracked again from the smoke, each shot precise, each one striking true. and more aliens fell, their bodies collapsing into the burning ground. The general roared with rage, his voice breaking into the air like thunder. "Stand, fight! You are warriors of the void. Do not fear them." Yet even as he roared, he saw his soldiers hesitate. He saw them step back. He saw fear in their glowing eyes. And he knew something was wrong, something deeper than weapons, something that touched the very soul of his army. The humans kept moving, slow and steady, their faces hidden, their silence terrifying. They spoke no words, they shouted no cries. They only fired, reloaded, and fired again, their discipline unbroken, their hearts as one, their bodies moving like shadows in perfect unity. And this silence became more frightening than any roar, for silence meant certainty. Silence meant no doubt. Silence meant the humans had no fear at all. The alien warriors tried again. Some rushed forward with claws extended, their massive forms leaping through smoke, their weapons blazing, their voices screaming with anger. But each one fell before reaching the human line, bullets tearing through armor, breaking bones, silencing roars in midair, bodies crashing into the dirt with heavy thuds, their fury wasted, their strength meaningless, their pride destroyed. One alien officer cried out, his voice desperate. "They know our weak points. They strike where the armor bends, where the plates join. How can they see? How can they know?" But no answer came. Only another shot, his helmet bursting apart, his body collapsing into silence. And the truth spread among the army. Humanity was not fighting blind. Humanity knew their secrets. Humanity had studied them. And that knowledge turned simple rifles into weapons of gods. The general clenched his fists around his glowing staff, fury boiling inside him. Yet even he felt a cold weight in his chest, a whisper of fear that he had never known. He had fought many wars, conquered many worlds, faced countless armies. But never had he seen his soldiers fall so quickly. Never had he seen their pride dissolve into fear. Never had he felt his own strength questioned by bullets that looked so small. The battlefield grew quieter between volleys, the smoke thick, the air heavy, the aliens breathing fast, their confidence broken, and in that silence the sound of human rifles was louder than thunder. Every crack was a reminder of weakness, every echo a warning of death, every shot a nail in the coffin of arrogance. Some aliens began to step back, their formation breaking, their courage fleeing. They looked to their general for strength. But even his voice no longer carried power. It was drowned out by the storm of human fire, drowned out by the screams of the dying, drowned out by the fear filling their hearts. And in that moment, the mighty army of the void began to waver. The humans did not chase them. They did not rush forward to strike the retreat. They stood in their line, calm and unbroken, their rifles raised, their eyes locked, their breath steady. And this calmness was worse than fury. It was worse than chaos, for it meant the humans were in control. It meant the battle belonged to them. It meant the invaders were no longer hunters but prey. The general lifted his staff high, light bursting across the field, his voice tearing through the air. "You are void-born. You do not fear. You do not fall. Crush these creatures." But his words felt hollow. They rang weak. And the soldiers did not charge as before. They only looked at one another, their courage leaking away, their eyes drawn back to the smoking line of rifles that had killed so many, their hands shaking as they gripped their weapons, their hearts filled with doubt they could not cast away. The rifles cracked again, the smoke shifted, more aliens dropped, the ground shook with their weight, and silence spread across the field once more. A silence filled with fear, a silence that told the invaders their power meant nothing. A silence that told them humanity was stronger than they had ever believed. A silence that warned them the battle had already been lost. And as the humans stood ready, rifles steady, eyes calm, the aliens felt the truth claw at their hearts. The truth that these tiny weapons were not weak. The truth that these simple bullets carried death no shield could stop. The truth that humanity was no fragile prey, but a predator hiding in plain sight, and that truth was more terrifying than any weapon they had ever faced. The smoke of the battlefield hung heavy in the air. The stench of blood and burning earth filled every breath. Alien bodies lay scattered across the broken ground, their glowing armor cracked and useless, their mighty weapons dark and silent. And still the human line stood steady, rifles raised, eyes cold, hearts burning with silent fire. The storm of battle had slowed, but the tension had only grown deeper. Every alien still standing felt the weight of fear pressing down. Every human felt the weight of resolve pulling them forward. The alien general could not understand. His mind roared with confusion. His voice thundered as he cried out, "How? How do their weak weapons pierce our shields? How can such primitive tools break the armor of the void?" His soldiers looked at him with desperate eyes. They wanted an answer. They wanted hope. But he had none, and their fear grew stronger with every heartbeat. The truth was hidden in the rifles themselves, weapons that looked simple, weapons that looked outdated. But inside their steel lay secrets the aliens had never seen. Humanity had studied the invaders long before this battle, scientists and engineers working in silence, learning from scraps of fallen ships, from broken pieces of armor, from fragments of weapons left behind in earlier clashes. They had pulled secrets from alien technology, twisted it, reshaped it, forged it into something new, something deadly, and then hidden it in plain sight. The rifles in human hands were not weak. They carried magnetic cores wrapped in alloys unknown to alien science, each bullet forged to pierce energy fields, each shot designed to seek out the weak joints in armor, the tiny cracks between plates, the soft points the aliens never imagined could be targeted, and the humans had trained to strike those points with deadly precision. Their silence was not only discipline, it was knowledge. It was the confidence of warriors who knew the enemy better than the enemy knew itself. The alien warriors did not understand the secret. All they saw were small rifles, plain and simple. And so they laughed, they mocked, they believed in their own invincibility, but that arrogance was their downfall. They never asked if humans had learned. They never asked if humans had prepared. They never asked if weakness could be turned into strength. And now their ignorance was paid with blood. A young human soldier fired again, his shot striking the neck joint of an alien. The armor cracked open, sparks flying, glowing blood spilling onto the dirt. The alien fell choking, his weapon dropping with a hiss. The soldier did not cheer. He did not smile. He reloaded calmly and aimed again, his hands steady, his breath sharp. He knew every shot mattered. He knew every alien could fall if struck in the right place. And he trusted the weapon in his hands because he knew its secret. The general roared in rage, striking the ground with his glowing staff, light bursting around him. They cannot have such power. They are children. They are weak. They are nothing. His voice echoed like thunder. Yet even he felt the lie in his own words. He felt doubt twisting in his chest. He felt fear whispering at the edges of his mind. He remembered the pride of his army, the laughter that had filled the air, and he saw now how quickly that pride had turned to silence. How quickly that laughter had turned to screams. The humans pressed forward a step, their boots crunching against stone and ash, their rifles rising as one, their commander silent, his hands steady, his eyes fixed on the enemy. He knew the secret they carried. He knew the trap had been sprung. He had watched the aliens laugh, and he had waited for this moment, the moment when arrogance shattered and truth was revealed, the moment when the enemy finally understood what humanity had become. The alien soldiers fired desperately, beams of energy tearing the ground, flames rising high, yet every shot seemed wild, unsteady, born of fear rather than control. Their hearts no longer trusted their weapons. Their hands no longer trusted their strength. And in that weakness the humans struck, bullets flying true, bodies falling, the battlefield shaking with the collapse of giants. One alien shouted, "Their weapons are not what they seem. They're not toys. They're something else." But his cry was cut short as a bullet struck his chest, his voice ending in silence. And the others who heard him felt dread sink deeper into their bones. They understood too late. They realized too late. They knew now that the weapons they mocked were traps waiting to be sprung, and that knowledge filled them with horror. The secret was never the size of the gun. The secret was never the shine of the weapon. The secret was knowledge, patience, planning, and the courage to use weakness as a mask. Humanity had hidden its strength in plain sight, waiting for the moment when the enemy's pride would blind them, waiting for the moment when arrogance would open the path to victory. And now that moment had arrived, and there was no turning back. The general lifted his weapon high once more, his rage burning bright, his voice breaking the sky. "Fight! You cowards, fight! We're the children of the void. We cannot fall." But his army did not roar back. Their voices were silent, their hearts trembling. They saw their fallen brothers. They saw their broken armor. They heard the rifles cracking again and again. And in that sound they heard death. In that sound they heard the end of pride. In that sound they heard truth. The humans fired another volley. The air filled with smoke and iron. The ground shook with falling bodies. The silence of the alien ranks grew heavier. Their steps faltered. Their courage faded, and their pride died. The battlefield no longer belonged to them. It belonged to the humans. It belonged to the rifles. It belonged to the secret they had never expected. And as the smoke curled higher into the sky, as the bodies of the mighty lay broken in the dirt, the human commander spoke for the first time since the order to fire. His voice calm, sharp, steady. "You thought us weak, you thought us blind, but you never understood. We learn, we adapt, and we endure." His soldiers heard him, their hearts steady, their rifles ready, and the aliens heard him too. And those words cut deeper than any bullet. Those words told them the war was only beginning, and they were no longer facing prey, but predators dressed as prey, predators who would never again be mocked. The battlefield was alive with fire and smoke. Every breath burned with the taste of ash. The ground was torn with craters and broken stone. The sky glowed red with the light of warships above, and through this storm the humans still stood in their line. Rifles raised, eyes sharp, hearts steady. The echo of each shot cut through the roar of alien weapons. The sound of iron against arrogance. The sound of prey turning into predator. The alien warriors roared in fury, their glowing weapons rising high. Beams of energy ripped through the smoke, burning trenches into the earth, walls of fire spreading across the ruins. The air shook with every blast, yet the human line did not break. Their boots pressed firm into the ground, their rifles lifted again, and their bullets flew true, striking armor, splitting helmets, tearing through shields that once seemed unbreakable. The laughter of aliens was long gone, replaced now by the screams of the dying. The general bellowed commands, his voice thunderous, his rage burning. He demanded his army advance, demanded they crush the humans with sheer force. And so the aliens charged, their massive frames crashing forward, their weapons glowing like suns. The earth shook with their charge, the sky shook with their roars, and still the humans did not falter. They fired volley after volley, every soldier moving like part of one machine. The sound of their rifles became a song of war, sharp and unyielding, each note claiming another life, each note breaking another piece of alien pride. The alien charge met the human line, fire against iron, fury against silence. The ground exploded as energy beams struck, walls of dirt and rock rose, smoke wrapped around the battlefield, and through the smoke the rifles cracked again, bullets piercing eyes, striking joints, breaking through gaps in armor. The aliens who reached the human line were cut down before their claws could strike, their massive bodies falling heavy into the dirt. Their roars cut short, their pride buried in silence. One alien commander roared, his blade flashing with blue fire. He leapt through the smoke, towering over the humans, his voice filled with hate. But before his strike could land, a rifle cracked. The bullet pierced his throat. The light in his eyes faded. His body crashed into the dust, and the humans stepped past him without a word, their focus never breaking, their silence heavier than the weight of stone. The alien general saw his army faltering, their charge broken, their numbers shrinking. He struck the ground with his staff, light bursting around him, his rage shaking the earth. "Fight! Fight! You are void-born. Do not let these creatures defy you." His voice cracked with fury, but his soldiers no longer believed, their courage bleeding out with every fallen comrade. Their weapons felt heavy in their hands, their hearts heavy in their chests. The rifles of the humans carried a truth they could not deny, and that truth was death. The humans pressed forward now, not rushing, not reckless, but steady and sure. their steps in rhythm, their shots in harmony. The battlefield itself seemed to bend around their will. The smoke curled with their advance. The ground trembled with their power. They had been mocked, they had been scorned, but now they were the storm, and nothing could stop them. Alien beams still flashed, craters still formed, the earth still burned, yet none of it broke the line. None of it silenced the rifles. None of it slowed the steady march. One by one the aliens fell. Their armor cracked, their weapons lost, their voices broken. And every time another body fell, the silence of fear grew heavier among those still standing, their pride turning to dust, their strength turning to nothing. One alien fell to his knees, his voice trembling. "This cannot be. They are not gods. They're not machines. They're only humans. How can they do this?" But no answer came. Only another shot. Only silence, his body falling with the rest, his voice lost forever in the dust of the battlefield. The humans did not cheer. They did not raise their voices. They did not boast of victory. They only kept moving forward, their rifles rising, their eyes watching, their hearts steady, their silence louder than any cry, louder than any roar. And in that silence the aliens saw the truth. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was the storm that they had never expected. The alien general clenched his staff tighter, his eyes burning with fury and fear. He had never seen such defiance, never seen such power from a species so small. His voice thundered again. "Stand and fight. If you retreat, you will be destroyed. If you fall, you will be forgotten." Yet his words felt thin. His soldiers looked away, their eyes filled with dread, their courage already broken, their hearts already lost. And the rifles cracked again, reminding them that words could not protect them. Pride could not shield them, and arrogance could not save them. The ground was soon covered with the dead, alien bodies glowing faintly in the dust, their armor cracked like broken shells, their weapons lying useless, and the humans stood above them, not as gods, not as monsters, but as warriors who refused to bow, as survivors who had learned, adapted, endured. The rifles in their hands were no longer seen as toys. They were now seen as symbols of fear, symbols of death, symbols of humanity's rise. The skies still burned with alien ships. The earth still shook with distant engines. The war was not over, but the battle was turning. The invaders who once thought themselves invincible now tasted defeat. They had mocked the rifles. They had mocked the humans. And now their laughter was gone. Their pride was gone. Their hope was fading, and only fear remained. The commander of the humans lifted his hand once more. His soldiers halted, their rifles ready, their eyes fixed on the broken enemy, his voice calm and steady. "Hold, let them see, let them understand." And the aliens who still stood saw the line of humans unbroken, their weapons steady, their silence heavy, and they understood that they had been wrong. They understood that humanity was not weak, and they understood that the tide of war had shifted. And as the smoke curled higher, as the silence deepened, as the rifles loaded again, the aliens felt a truth colder than any blade, a truth sharper than any weapon, a truth that pierced their very souls. Humanity would not fall. Humanity would not bow. Humanity would fight. And this battle was proof that the storm of humans was only just beginning. The battlefield was heavy with silence, broken only by the sharp crack of rifles, the air thick with smoke and fire, the earth trembling under the weight of fallen giants. And still the humans stood in their line, unyielding, unbroken, each soldier moving like part of one living force, each bullet carrying the weight of defiance and survival. The alien general's rage boiled like a storm within his chest. His staff glowed with violent light. His voice roared across the battlefield, demanding his warriors fight harder, demanding they rise again. Yet his words felt empty. His soldiers were no longer the proud army that had marched into this war with laughter on their lips. Now they were weary. Now they were shaken. Now they feared. One squad of alien warriors tried to regroup, their weapons lifted high, their energy blast scorching through the haze. But the rifles cracked again, each shot finding its mark. Armor shattered, weapons fell, voices cried out, and silence swallowed them one by one. The humans did not falter. Their rhythm never broke, their silence was heavier than thunder, a storm without sound, a blade without mercy. The general struck the ground, energy bursting outward, a wave of fire rushing across the battlefield. Human soldiers were thrown back, dirt and smoke rising into the sky, the earth splitting with cracks that glowed with alien power. Yet even through this storm the rifles rose again. The humans steadied their aim, and fire returned with fire. Bullets flew like lightning through smoke, cutting down those who had dared step closer under the shield of their general's power. The alien commander bared his fangs, his massive form glowing with fury. He roared to his warriors, "They are not stronger, they are not greater. We are void-born. We cannot fall to them." His words thundered, yet even he felt doubt. His claws trembled. His eyes flicked to the dead around him, to the silence that followed every shot, to the truth that weighed heavy in his chest. The humans could not be broken. More alien soldiers charged, their armor glowing, their weapons raised. Yet every step forward was met with fire, their bodies falling into the dirt, their roars fading into the smoke, and every loss cut deeper into the morale of those still standing. Every body that fell was another piece of pride shattered, another fragment of arrogance lost forever in the dust of war. The humans advanced with slow power, not rushing, not careless, each step steady, each rifle crack precise. They did not cheer, they did not boast, they did not even speak. They moved like shadows, like iron made flesh. The battlefield bent to their rhythm. The very air seemed to wait for their command. And with each advance the aliens stepped back, their courage breaking, their strength fading. One young alien warrior shouted through the chaos, his voice trembling, "We cannot stop them. Nothing can stop them. Their weapons should be weak, yet they cut through us like fire, like the void itself. How can this be?" But before his voice reached his general, another bullet pierced his chest, and he fell silent among the rest, his words lost, his fear immortalized in the dust. The general's rage burned hotter, his pride bleeding away. He could not allow this. He would not accept this. He raised his staff high, energy bursting from the sky. Beams of burning light struck down around the humans. The ground exploded. Flames rose high. The roar of destruction echoed across the ruins. And yet when the fire cleared, the humans were still there, their lines still intact, their rifles still steady, their eyes still locked on him, their silence heavier than ever. The alien general's hands trembled. For the first time in his life, he felt the cold bite of fear, not of death, not of pain, but of truth, the truth that this war was slipping away, the truth that the humans were not weak, the truth that his army was breaking, and no amount of rage could hold it together. His soldiers saw it too. Their eyes no longer burned with pride. Now they flickered with doubt. They began to step back, their claws lowering, their weapons hanging heavy, and the humans pressed forward still, their silence speaking louder than words, their fire carving the truth into the battlefield. The tide of war was shifting, and the storm of humanity could not be stopped. A roar rose from the far side. Another wave of alien reinforcements surged forward, their armor brighter, their weapons stronger. They charged with fury, determined to crush the line. But the humans adjusted, their rifles lifted, their aim sharp, and fire filled the air once again. The wave broke against iron. Bodies fell, voices faded. The reinforcements lasted no longer than the rest. Pride could not shield them. Arrogance could not protect them. And death claimed them just the same. The ground was covered now with the fallen, glowing blood running through cracks in the earth, weapons lying useless, armor shattered, and the humans marched among them, their silence unbroken, their rifles steady, their presence heavier than the mountain itself. The alien warriors who still breathed stared in dread, their claws trembling, their hearts heavy. They no longer saw prey. They saw predators, and in that realization their spirits broke. The alien general let out a final roar of fury. Striking his staff once more, flames rushed outward. The earth cracked deeper, but his voice shook, his eyes betrayed him. He was no longer the symbol of strength. He was a shadow of defeat, and his army saw it. They saw his fear, and they knew it was over. The humans halted again. Their commander raised his hand, his voice calm yet heavy. "Hold, let them see, let them remember." And the silence grew, deeper, heavier, suffocating. The aliens who still lived felt it in their bones, felt it in their souls. The storm of humanity was not something they could fight, not something they could stop. It was a truth, it was a force, it was destiny. The battlefield stood frozen, smoke curling into the sky, fire burning across the ruins, the dead lying in silence, the living trembling in fear, and the humans stood as stone, rifles ready, eyes sharp, hearts unyielding. The tide had turned, the war was shifting, and the aliens understood now. Their laughter had ended, their pride was gone, and only fear remained. And in that moment of silence, with the battlefield heavy with death, with the sky burning above, with the earth torn apart, the aliens felt the weight of truth press upon them. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was the storm, and this was only the beginning. The sky burned red with fire, smoke curled in black spirals. The ground shook with every distant explosion, and the battlefield was a graveyard of fallen giants. The silence of the dead mixed with the cries of the living, and through it all the humans stood in their line, rifles steady, eyes locked forward, unbroken and unafraid, their presence like a wall that nothing could move. The alien general staggered across the ruined ground, his massive frame bent beneath the weight of defeat, his claws dragged furrows in the dirt. His staff glowed dimly now, the fire within it fading, yet still his eyes burned with fury. He could not accept this. He would not bow. He had led countless victories across the stars. He had broken fleets and crushed armies. But here against humans he found only silence and pain. And the truth gnawed at his pride like a hungry beast. Around him the remnants of his army gathered, their armor cracked, their weapons heavy, their eyes full of fear. They looked not to him for guidance now, but to the enemy across the field, to the silent figures who marched with rifles gleaming, their hearts pounded with dread, their voices hushed, their claws trembled. They were no longer warriors of the void. They were prey standing before hunters who had no mercy. The humans advanced slowly, not rushing, not wasting strength, each step deliberate, each movement like the ticking of a clock counting down to the end. And the aliens felt time slipping away, each heartbeat heavier than the last, each moment sharper than a blade. The humans gave no words, no taunts, no shouts, only the endless rhythm of rifles rising and falling, fire bursting with cold precision, death carried in every shot. The alien general roared, his voice shaking the smoke-filled sky. He raised his staff high, summoning the last of his power. Lightning arced, flames burst, the ground split, and for a brief moment he seemed like the god of war his people had once believed him to be. But the humans did not flinch, they did not cower, they did not yield. They raised their rifles together, and the fire that answered his power cut through the storm like iron through cloth. Bullets tore past his defenses, ripping into his warriors, dropping them one by one into silence. The survivors broke, their courage shattered. Some turned and fled into the smoke. Some fell to their knees and begged the void for mercy. Some dropped their weapons and covered their faces. But all knew the truth. Their war was lost, their pride destroyed, their general powerless before the storm of humanity. And the humans pressed forward still, their silence heavier than mountains, their fire brighter than the sun, their will sharper than any blade. The alien general fell to one knee. His claws dug deep into the ground. Blood ran from wounds across his chest. His staff cracked, sparks of dying energy spilling into the dirt. He looked up at the humans who stood before him, their commander at the front, calm, steady, unshaken, and he saw not men but a force of nature, not prey but predators who had survived fire, fear, and death, who had turned weakness into strength, who had faced the void and refused to bow. With a final roar of rage and despair he hurled himself forward, staff raised high, eyes burning, claws ready, his massive form crashing across the broken ground. But the rifle spoke again, a thunder of fire filled the air, bullets struck his chest, tore into his limbs, shattered the glow of his staff, and his body staggered, slowed, and fell with a crash that shook the earth, his roar fading into silence, his pride buried in the dust. The battlefield went quiet. The fire crackled. The smoke drifted. The bodies of the fallen lay in countless numbers, and only the humans remained standing, their rifles lowered now, their eyes scanning the ruins, their breaths steady and controlled, their silence unbroken, their victory written in the ashes of their enemies. The storm had passed, and humanity had endured. The alien survivors crawled from the wreckage, their claws shaking, their voices low. They looked upon the humans with fear in their eyes. They no longer saw weakness, no longer saw prey. They saw a force they could not defeat, a truth they could not deny. Humanity was not small. Humanity was not fragile. Humanity was a storm that would break any who mocked it, a storm that would rise again and again until all who doubted understood. The human commander stepped forward, his voice calm yet sharp. Let them live. Let them carry the story. Let them remember. And his soldiers obeyed, their rifles lowered, their line held firm. They would not slaughter the broken. They would not waste fire on the defeated. For the greatest weapon was not death, but memory. The memory of this day. The memory of silence and fire. The memory of laughter turned to terror. The alien survivors staggered back, dragging their wounded, carrying their fallen, their eyes wide, their hearts heavy. They would carry this memory to the stars. They would speak of the day humanity rose, of the day small rifles brought down giants, of the day pride was broken by silence. They would speak of it with fear, with awe, with respect that burned deeper than hate, and the name of humanity would echo in their voices forever. As the last of them fled into the smoke, the humans stood in the ruins, the fire around them dying slowly, the sky above clearing, the storm of battle fading. Yet their silence still remained, heavy, strong, unbroken, their victory complete, their message clear, and across the battlefield the truth was carved in blood and fire. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was the storm, and all who faced them would learn it the hard way. And so the tale would spread through stars and empires, through fleets and armies, through councils and thrones, whispered in fear, spoken in awe, remembered forever, the day when aliens mocked humanity's weapons, the day when laughter turned to screams, the day when the storm of earth rose and crushed the pride of giants. And from that day forward none would laugh again.